Hey guys, Jack here with Jack's Low Carb Journey, episode 12 that we're up to today, by my count anyway. And first up, our weight loss report on me. Nothing. 227, just like I was yesterday, so that's 2 days in a row. It's pretty typical, honestly, that I'll have that drop of a full pound and then a couple of days of the same and then a little bit and then another day and then maybe a full pound drop. So I mean, by that, I would guess my weigh in on Monday will be around 226. We'll see how accurate I am. This is a Friday, so you guys won't hear from me till then. All right, so let's talk about my kind of subject today. I'm going to dare some of you to go on keto, but you're going to have to do it my way if you take my dare. And I don't mean so much my way as my way of doing keto, but my way of recording everything that you're doing and staying true to the process. And you're going to have to do it for 10, 20, 30, 40 days, which is right now more than I have. In fact, today is, again, day 33, so I would have to go 7 more days to meet my own challenge, which, of course, I will because I'm going to do this forever. I believe 40 days will be enough to transform people. And so I'll talk about my challenge in just a second and what you're going to have to do if you want to take it. But before I do, I want to talk a little bit about why. Back when I was in the Army, this is the early 90s, late 80s, we had a term for, soldiers just cut into each other. Understand, we dearly love each other as brothers. But it is, if you are from the outside and you get around a group of soldiers cutting into each other and insulting each other and messing with each other, I mean, it will make freaking group of construction workers look like college kids hiding in a safe space, petting a puppy and coloring a book. I mean, it's that bad. And when it got real, like even for that, when it got to the extreme, we had a term called coming off the top rope. Boom, right? We were all children of the 80s and the 70s. We grew up with like WWF wrestling and stuff like that, coming off the top rope. Like, man, you're coming off the top rope. Well, yesterday I came off the top rope. Yesterday I dropped the F-bomb, I think, about 20 times. And I had like 100 people unsubscribe from my channel yesterday. The good news is I had almost 100 subscribe. It almost offset. So I guess some people were offended and ran to their safe space. And I had a few people say, thanks for the explicit warning and all, because I did put it in the text at least. And my response has been kind of like, sometimes it's called for. And I want to explain where I'm coming from and how that leads to my challenge. So the reason I get so damn pissed off sometimes is that I, honest to God, believe, and I believe that the evidence supports my belief, that the advice that our government has been giving to us for decades, and specifically since the 70s due to the work of Ansel Keys, is killing, maiming, and bankrupting Americans. Okay? Now, if the deaths and maiming and bankrupting of millions of Americans isn't a point to get pissed off at and occasionally swear about, I don't know what is. Okay, so that's where I'm coming from. And I believe that if you follow the recommendations that the majority of dietitians are giving and the majority of doctors are giving, you're following a recipe that will work for some people. If you actually stay away from the high fructose corn syrup and all the added sugars and things like that, and you follow the basic pyramid, and you use whole foods, and you cook your own meals, and you don't eat garbage, there is a group of people that will do fairly well on that. There's also a group of people, like I talked about yesterday, they'll look good, but they'll have elevated cholesterol levels, and the bad kind. They'll have metabolic syndrome, they'll have diabetes, they'll have all that stuff. So even there's a group of people that's relatively small as a whole that'll look pretty good, and then a smaller group that will actually be pretty good on that diet. And the problem with that diet is it is completely unforgiving of straying that far into the next layer, which is eating too many calories, which is eating high fructose corn syrup or fructose in excess at all. And then the processed foods of the world creep into that. And I'm following the thing, and I had my 4 servings of bread or whatever, my freaking insulin's blowing through the roof, but I feel okay. And then you're eating, fructose. And guys, fructose is a poison. It is a poison. It is as toxic as alcohol, and it may be worse. And I'll explain to you why I think it can be worse. If you drink enough alcohol, you get drunk off your ass, and most people quit. Number 2, most people accept that alcohol is a poison, even people that abuse it, And there's things like Alcoholics Anonymous. And alcohol is, and I don't like the government at all, but it's the society we live in. We think of things that are regulated as more dangerous than non-regulated. And that's the mentality of people. Alcohol is regulated. You can't go buy a fifth of vodka when you're 16, but you can go buy a juicy juice this big that is going to give you diabetes. Okay, so in some ways, fructose is worse in a bunch of ways. I'm not going to go deep into the science on that. I have a presentation that I've linked to in the video notes today called Sugar, the Bitter Truth. That is given by a very switched-on food scientist out of the University of California, which, surprisingly enough, he's telling the truth about sugar, specifically fructose. And after you watch it, you may never want to eat fructose ever again. And you certainly shouldn't if it's in the form of high fructose corn syrup. The thing is, your body can't process fructose at all, except for your liver. It has to go to the liver, and it has to be processed by the liver. Glucose, for the problems that it does create, at least your blood, your whole body can use glucose. So fructose is processed exactly like alcohol, and people usually consume a lot more of it. I will give a little bit of moderation again to if you're eating an apple versus you're eating high fructose corn syrup, because first the fructose has to be broken out of the situation that's in it. It's bound up with fiber. And then, you know, apples are a lot more limiting than syrup into how much you're going to consume. When you move into like apple juice versus an apple, you're back to you're drinking a toxin. I know it's hard to believe, but you are. So the reason I was on the top rope yesterday, and the reason I was using the F word yesterday, is because I know this. And I know that there are Americans like the person I mentioned yesterday who have lost their kidneys and their eyesight, their fingers and their toes and their hands and their feet to this. I know there are people that have had their chests cut open and ripped apart and had to have their heart operated on that never had to because they trusted this advice. So the reason I get pissed sometimes and I get animated sometimes and I tell you, wake the F up sometimes, is because I don't want that to happen to you. And I'm angry that we live in a society where we're condoning this. Right now, the whole damn world is freaking out over 400 odd sick people from vaping and about 6 that died this year. And tens of thousands of people die from this shit. And hundreds of thousands of people get sick from this shit every effing month. But there's no crisis there, is there? Well, like I said yesterday, they're not going to fix this. You have to understand the literally trillions of dollars that have to go into flux, and entire new industries need to be developed to support this on a mass level. If 50% of the people in this country wake up to this and say, well, I'm eating grass-fed beef, I'm eating pastured pork, I'm eating pastured poultry, I'm not eating anything with high fructose corn syrup in it again. Even if I'm going to eat a more carb-accepted diet, I'm eating whole fruits and vegetables. I'm not drinking juices, right? I'm going to eat the way that humanity did for thousands of years. It's trillions of dollars of industry gone. Gone. So they're not going to do it, so you're going to have to. That brings me to my challenge. I believe that nothing proves something like having it put to the test. So I'm looking for at least 10 people. This is a gamble because most people don't want to actually make a change in their life. I'm looking at you right now, and I'll say this on the podcast and direct you here if you listen to the podcast and don't generally go to my YouTube. I'm looking at you right now, and I'm asking you, do you want to change your life? Do you want to save your life? Are you willing to quit being a whiny bitch for 40 days and go 100% full-on committed to changing your life? Just 40 days. And I would tell you this, if I offered any one of you out there watching this right now going, I don't know, I'll give you $1 million to go to jail for 40 days. It won't be on your record, but you'll have to go live in a jail for 40 days for $1 million. Not one damn one of you would say no. Not one damn one of you, my wife's saying bye to me, my kiddo. Not one of you would say no. There is not a single one of you that would say no. And you can say you'd say no, and you're full of shit. If I had the $1 million sitting here in stacks of hundreds and said 40 days in county jail, doesn't go on your record, you got to take a leave of absence from work if you're even going back, I'll give you a suitcase with $1 million in it. Well, let me tell you something. If you had that suitcase with $1 million in it, and you were like the guy I told you about yesterday that wrote into me, and you could have your kidneys back for $1 million, you'd give that $1 million up. like that. If you knew you were going to have a heart attack and die tomorrow, but you could give that $1 million up and make it go away, you'd give that $1 million up. That $1 million would become worthless to you the second you knew that your life was going to forever change or end. But you'll go to jail for 40 days for it. So man up or woman up, take my challenge. Here's my challenge. Number one, you have to record everything that you do. You have to record everything that you do. You have to say from the beginning, this is how much I weigh. This is what my body mass index is. And if you enter the challenge, I will send you the data to go put all this together. I will give you my spreadsheet preloaded for 40 days worth of tracking. And you have to track every day what your weight was the day before, the next day, your body mass, or not your body mass, your total weight loss, etc. And then you're going to run a body mass index check every 10 days. Do it 4 times. Beginning, 10 days in, 20 days in, 40 days in. You have to record every single thing that you eat. And you have to stay under 20 carbs. You have to do that. You have to make best effort to use as much grass-fed, etc. stuff as possible. If you can't afford it and you have to use regular ground beef, regular bacon, whatever, it's okay. But if you can't afford it, you have to make best effort to do it. After you get 1 week where you get to eat as much as you want like they say you can, which is generally a lie. You get 1 week of that. And then you have to start counting calories, and you have to put yourself into a caloric deficit of at least 20%. You can eat all the good stuff, but you have to. By that second week, you don't have to, but I want you to make an effort to get on 2 meals a day with intermittent fasting. You don't have to, but I would like you to. And I think you'll find that it's easier to do when you only have to construct 2 meals a day. You have to do that. You have to eat a minimum of 4 cups per day, so it can be spread out over 2 meals, of leafy green vegetables. Spinach, lettuce, arugula, kale, I don't care what it is. 4 cups, raw. They have to be raw. Okay? You can put bacon on it. You could put olive oil on it. You could put blue cheese on it. You can do whatever you want, but at least 4 cups of raw leafy green vegetables. You can add, as long as you count the carbohydrates, you can add peppers and tomatoes and cucumbers and all that other stuff for a typical salad. You can make cooked vegetables to go with your meals, but you must eat 4 cups of raw vegetables. You have to commit. If you get keto flu or whatever, you're not going to come to me whining like a little baby about, I don't know what to do. I feel this or I feel that. You're going to go to Google, you're going to go to YouTube, and you're going to find out what you need to supplement or what you need to do, and you're going to get your ass through keto flu because you know it's not going to kill you. The diet you're on might kill you now, but going keto for 40 days isn't going to kill you. And you have to record every bit of this. You have to report into me at least once a week where you're at with your numbers. And then you have to let me, and I have to be able to use your name and your data 40 days from when we start. We'll probably start next week if I get people that want to do it anyway. And I'll do it with 5. But I would like 10 to do this because it's a better sample size. And I'd like some women and some men, not all of one or all of the other. Okay? You have to record things that change for me as well. I'll give you an example of some things that are changing for me. One, our thermostat set higher. I'm going to probably save enough money on my electrical bill a month to pay for half of the better food. My wife's cold now. It's crazy. You start shedding that fat, and all of a sudden your body temperature seems to drop, or at least you don't feel uncomfortable. Usually I have the air conditioner cranking. I have the air conditioner on 77. We haven't had our air conditioner set on 77 forever. It's crazy. I have always had really bad problems with cracked heels, probably because I'm borderline diabetic. My wife looked at my heels the other night and said, "What are you doing to your heels?" I'm like, "Well, nothing that I don't always do." She's like, "My God, they're like so much better in 30 days." So anything like that, good or bad, you got to record it. And you got to let me use a name and your data. So your reports, I want to be able to sit down and read this all off. You do not have to use your last name or your real last name or even your real first name. You can call yourself Dummy Dum Dum if you want to. I would prefer a better name than that, but you can use a pseudonym. It's up to you. I'd like to know who you really are, but you can say when you report my data. Then I would like people that actually are comfortable with it. I would love it if y'all would record your own videos at the end of the challenge and tell me what you got out of it. And here's what I'm going to say. It is not easy to do this, but it is simple. That might sound like a contradiction. It's not. Simple just simply means that anybody can do it. But easy would mean it requires no effort. Well, what requires no effort is to continue to eat food that is killing you. That's easy. But changing your life is simple, but not easy. It requires effort, but as I said before, not sacrifice. There is so much you're going to be able to eat. And I will share. First of all, almost everything that I'm eating is on Facebook. You can go look at what I'm eating and you can emulate what I'm doing. I don't have recipes for most of this stuff. Oh, one more thing. You can't go running out and buying all kinds of like zero net carb bread and shit like that. You got to take this seriously. That kind of stuff is when you're in a maintenance lifestyle. This is, you got to go whole foods. You got to cook your foods. You got to not be a dadgone wuss. For 40 days to change your life. Why 40 days? Because at 30 days, I'm already like, this is how I'm living for the rest of my life. I'm never going back. And I can only imagine what 10 more days on top of that will do. And I can only imagine what it'll do if you're not tracking just your weight, but you're tracking your measurements over those 40 days. And you watch that body fat drop. You watch your health problems start going away. Last thing would be, if you want to do it, go get labs done. Or if you've had recent labs, when you're done, go get your labs done again. And you can do a basic lab panel or whatever, and that's up to you, whatever you provide me, I'll use. So, are any of you going to do it? Are any of you going to commit to it? Because I would like to ask you a question. I know it'll convince you. I know you'll believe me when you're at the end of that 40 days. I know 20 days in, I'm going to get emails from you going, thank you, thank you, thank you. I already got emails like that just by talking about it. And people just getting up off their ass and doing it. But I know that 20 days in, those of you that actually take this challenge and start kind of together-ish, we don't have to have it a specific day, but somewhere in a range of a week or two, and you track all this, you're going to be sold. But I think what I'd like to do is try to save, I don't know, this year, it'd be nice to save 100 lives. Don't you think that's a noble goal? To be part of saving 100 lives? And I believe if 5 to 10 of y'all will quit whining and bitching about how hard it is and realize it is very simple, even though it's not easy. Shut your cry hole. Stop putting pies in your pie hole. And eat whole, real foods. And if you're a dude, you're going to be eating around 2,000 calories. And you ain't going to be hungry. Okay? You ain't going to be hungry. Use an app. Track your meals. Keep track of everything. I don't need all that data, but I need you to be able to tell me, yes, yesterday I ate 1,875 calories, 70% of them were fat. I only ate X grams of carbs. I need you to be able to do that. Or you're not counted in this, because I don't know what you're doing. And having done it half-assed before, I know it never works out. But will you help me save 100 or maybe even 1,000 lives? Because remember, the guy I told you about, not yesterday, but the day before, that's lost over 100 pounds, you heard one sentence that I said as an aside. It went inside, stuck with him. He changed his life. What do you think 10 people saying, I quit whining and I did it in 40 days. This is what happened. I lost 30 pounds. I lost 25 pounds. My body fat index dropped by 10%. And I don't mean 10% of where it started. I mean 35 to 25%. I lost 8 inches. I gave up my blood pressure medication. My doctor doesn't know what the hell's going on. If it's done this way, as a challenge that's accepted, and everybody does it together, and at the end of it, you get to be, you don't have to be featured as who you really are. Just, Tammy wrote in, and this is what Tammy did, and Bob wrote in, and this is what Bob did, and yeah. And my reach of 200,000 people with my podcast. What do you think that'll do? Do you think that maybe 100 people this year that wouldn't have will say, I'm going to try this, and I'm going to take it seriously like these people did, instead of just, switching to wheat bread, which does nothing. Okay, that's just stupid. Or I'm going to cut my carbs to like 70. Okay, well, if you're thin, that's great. But if you're a fat ass like me, you need to do more than that. Do you think maybe 100 people will do it? So if it's not just for your pride, If it's not just to change your life, would you like to be part of something that saves 100 or more people, that makes them make a change this year? If so, let me know. You can comment below. Best thing to do is email me. My email is jack@thesurvivalpodcast.com. For those of you that only follow me on YouTube, I use a code to make sure I don't miss your email. Put TSPC in the subject line. And put TSPC Keto if you're doing this. TSPC, like it's a word, and then the word Keto in the subject line. I'll make sure I find it. And just tell me I'm in, and I will get back to you with the data that you need to be able to do this. I dare you. I dare you to do it.